Everyone wants to work out, get fitter, and get better. But are you one of those persons, either a newbie or someone who's been to the gym for a while, but unable to figure out why you are not able to make progress or see the results? Let's talk about. I'll talk about maybe 7 or 8 common reasons why that can happen, and what are the pitfalls that you should avoid to get better. Okay, cool. Number one, not training hard enough. Now, this happens. A lot of people go to the gym, they do some cute workouts, they lift some small weights, go put some random orders, lift something for some time, then suddenly jump to the cardio. They don't train hard enough, right? So if you're just waltzing around and distracted, scrolling between the sets, doing some time pass, giving enough stimulus for your brain and body to make sure that you grow. There is no reason or impetus for it to grow. You have to create a bit of tension and challenge, and that happens when you give it a lot of pain. So the and kind of that's when the muscles have those micro tears, which then can be repaired, right? So you have to train it a little hard so that it's definitely more than what you've been doing so far, right? That's the message, so that the brain then knows, oh, I have to make sure he or she can lift a little more harder next time, so I better build it to be able to do better, right? Like think of a good foundation for a building to be built, right? Now, this is where progressive overload generally comes. Generally, at the end of the set, uh, depending on the number of reps that you do, maybe 8 to 12, typically in that range. Towards the end, you're going to feel a little tired. You're going to literally push yourself to do it, but still with a proper form, right? It should not be like you change your position to just try and lift. You should do it in a proper form. So that's a example of training hard enough to the point that you're almost about to fail, right? That should be the method. Second point is this is probably the most common point is being very inconsistent or wrong type of consistency. Now, it's not easy to define this term consistent, but ideally, you cannot just make sudden gains by motivation and then doing 1 or 2 great sessions and then not doing it properly after that. Great results come from compounding, right? Small repeated efforts over a function of time. That's when the compounding results will start coming. Just like investing money, for example, they say, right? Compounding is a eighth wonder or seventh wonder of the world. Exactly. So think of it like watering a plant. You keep doing it for a long time, then it keeps on growing into a beautiful tree, which gives you fruits. It takes time. You have to have the patience and be very consistent. Now, some of the things people might ask us, okay, what exactly is being very consistent? I would say doing it about 3 to 4 times a week is quite good. Three is more than enough. Four is fine. In that range is really good. It shouldn't be the case that you worked out for 2 weeks and then gave a gap of 2 weeks again, then started. In which case, what happens is a lot of gains that you made in the first 2 weeks, then you're confusing the brain by saying, "Oh, I'm not going to do it for some time," and then it's like, okay, it's going to erase some of these gains, or the gain is very partial, right? Again, it starts rebuilding from scratch, almost going to the scratch. So that doesn't really work. You have to be consistent, even if it means twice a week is still fine, but do it every week rather than giving a longer hiatus or a gap. That doesn't really work. Foundation, things like foundation, ego lifting, or making progress too fast, trying to accelerate or shortcut the process. Now, uh, one of the issues that generally will happen with taking shortcuts or suddenly lifting heavier weights than you actually can is that you are very much prone to injuries and then bigger setbacks, right? If you're injured, it not just affects you physically, but also affects you mentally, because you're going to be very wary about doing the exercise again. You're not very sure if you'll end up breaking that bone, etc. So avoid ego lifting. Secondly, a lot of your muscles, even if you do one exercise that's kind of tied to multiple muscles in the body, compound muscles, etc. That lack of strength in your elbow might make it difficult for you to even do dumbbell curls, for example. Right? So you won't be able to lift, let's say, 10 kg weight or a 7.5 kg if your elbow is not strong enough, even though you're working on your biceps. So it's all interconnected. Your wrist may be weak, for example. So to build that strength or the foundation, it's okay to start with medium weights or lower weights to build that strength. Then you progress to higher weights, the progressive overloads. And again, when people say about progressive roulette, it could be the number of sets could be more, number of repetitions could be more, or if the reps and sets are same, you could increase the weights to build strength over time. Anyway, we'll come to that later. So don't do ego lifts. You can slowly increase the weights over a period of time. Once you are confident enough that your body can now take it out, the foundation is pretty strong enough to build a taller or a bigger building, right? So that's one thing. And also, stay a little, be a little wary of tricky exercises which can cause injuries. But really be careful with that. Another one, number four is completely unplanned, randomized workouts or non-structured routines. Some people try and follow. Okay, I'll do exactly what Arnold did, or Rock did, or my hero does. On you read some magazine and then figure, oh, this is the best way, or you open your Instagrams and maybe some social media to see, oh, this guy is doing it, so I'll also do the same. It's okay to take references, nothing wrong with it, but figure out what is it want. You can either do a upper lower kind of split. Some people do push pull days. Some people do body part days. Find a routine that works well for you depending on your routine. Everyone's routine is different. Assuming you do 3 to 4 times a week, you then figure out what's the calendar that is ideal for you. I mean, for example, I do body part days. That's what works for me, and I'm used to it for the last 1.5 years, close to 3 years. So you have to figure out what are the essential bare minimal exercise for each body part. That's non-negotiable, of course, right? To build your chest muscle, uh, arms, legs, back, and any body part that you want to build, you have to allot specific time, which means there are some fundamental basic exercises that are absolutely essential to build those muscles. So write them down. Maybe you could try 7 or 8 different variants for that specific muscle, and then you narrow down to maybe 5 to 6. But do that repeatedly. You don't need to try something fancy just because somebody is doing it on Instagram. Most important thing, number five, lack of good recovery or bad recovery. What do you mean by recovery? I mean, we already told you 3 to 4 times a week is more than enough. Now, along with exercise, there are two other things that are, let's say, part of your, so let's say, good life template, right? Or the pillars to good health, for example, or wellness, you can say. Exercise, and then you have sleep and nutrition. Of course, you have social connections, stress management, etc. It could be, maybe 3.1, 3.2, or 4 and 5, you could say. Now, sleep is extremely crucial. That's when your body is going to repair and build your muscle. What you do in the gym during workout is basically the stimulus, but when does it happen? It eventually happens during sleep. So if you're not having good sleep, 7.5 to 8 hours per night, it's very difficult to build muscles, lose fat, whatever your goal might be, right? Again, these are all about for people who are, let's say, thin, who want to build muscle. You could be a fat person who want to lose weight, or you could be an average person who want to build muscle. It kind of this applies to almost all sections of people, and for both men and women. Now we spoke about sleep. Then now that the muscles are getting repaired and then built during your sleep, which got done during the exercise that you did. Now, how does it happen? Of course, you need a good nutrition of good macros, 10 to 20% to 20% of proteins, and then remaining is carbs plus fat, etc. You need it in a certain proportion. If you don't have good nutrition, there is nothing to fuel that repair, right? So you might be sleeping well, you might be doing good amount of workout in the gym, but if your nutrition is very poor, you're eating donuts and a lot of sugary items, fatty items, you're not even tracking your macros, your calorie consumption per day, that's not going to help. So you have to keep a close watch on sleep and nutrition. Essentially, whatever you do, just monitor it. Sleep 7 or 8 hours is trackable. 7 hours is good enough. Nutrition, make sure you eat good wholesome foods, whole foods. Avoid your processed food. That's a good start. Typically stick to around ratio in which you, I mean, the logic of nutrition is pretty simple, right? If you're just track your calorie input, so that that part is not the one that is derailing your progress. That's very important. And then, of course, stress. Now, this is a very kind of a complicated topic, but people might say, oh, what do I do about stress, right? Now, the thing is, these are external factors that will happen in your life to create enough stress for you. That's something that we can't really do much about. What is under your control is how you handle that stress, right? A lot of people are going to piss you off at work, or it could be at home, it could be your friends, and these things happen. There could be some incidents that will put you in a difficult spot. Then you have your cortisol, stress hormones, and then that's gonna hold on to your fat, which will not help you relax or lose your fat. Right? That's one of the reasons you don't make much progress to now. There are ways to mitigate it. A lot of walks, etc., will help. Meditation, yoga might help. Bunch of things that you can do. But essentially, I want you to know that managing your stress, if you're in an extremely highly stressful environment whole day and for a long time, then even with sleep, nutrition, exercise, you will find it difficult to make good progress or not have the kind of results that you are expecting to have. That's about it. Now, point number six, I think almost the final point, I think. Slightly important. Again, wrong exercises or order, for example. So uh, it's not a blocker, but generally when you go to the gym, try and do the complicated compound lifts and workouts that involves multiple muscles first. So something like deadlifts, pull-ups, squats, etc. Work on multiple muscles. That compound exercises. You need more energy and vigor to do that because these are harder exercise to complete. So finish them first. Then you move on to isolation exercise like curls, etc. or triceps. You can uh, go towards the later part of your exercise. Make sure you have a warm up or good amount of stretching before you do this exercise, and then you also have a cool down, kind of a warm down, cool down, again stretching and relaxing towards the end of your workout. And in general, overall, about 50 to 60 minutes is what research says is very ideal for your workout session in the gym. Anything more, it's not really going to give you a lot of benefits. In fact, it might actually be hurting your progress to be doing more than that, right? That's no super added benefit by spending 2 hours, 1.5 hours in the gym in the morning and also in the evening. I see such people. Yes, they might feel good, but it's not necessary, is what I'm saying. And particularly if you're a beginner, whatever I suggested is more than enough. 3 times a week is more than enough with some kind of weights. Now, those are the 6 points I want to speak about. Now, the message that I want to give you all is that the real truth I want to tell you about workouts or resistance training is that it is extremely boring. There is nothing sexy about it or exciting about it. It's extremely boring to be doing the same exercises again and again for years and years together. Now, I'll give you my example. In the last 2.5 years, I've been doing the same exercises for a particular body part in the same order. Whatever I learned, whatever was taught to me, I just maintained the same order for on the same routine. Okay, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, maybe whatever, no, 4 times a week, 5 times a week. I just follow the same order of body part and the same exercise for those body parts. It's boring. Yes, once in a while you might want to try something new, but it's not required. I generally don't. There's nothing wrong, but it's not required. You ultimately will figure out that some routines are difficult for you. Some kind of exercise like skull crushers or face pull might not be ideal for you. You will not be able to get into a good technique or a form. Then you don't have to do that. You can. There's always alternates that will serve you well, or things that you find it slightly easier to do in a good form and technique, right? So that's very important. It's basically simple, guys. Rinse and repeat day after day. That's the only way you will make progress. Sometimes you're not able to see the progress because you're looking at it too often. But someone who looks at you after 3 months, after 6 months, etc., will be able to see the progress. Uh, so you just have to be de-edited. That's where the real transformation is. Well, that's about it. So if you're in that spot, I hope you'll find this useful. Or if you have any friends who are finding it difficult, do forward it to them. Okay, I forgot to tell about one thing. Bad habits. If you have a lot of bad habits, alcohol, smoking, and drugs or any other usage, all of these are inhibitory catabolic activities. They're not going to help you build muscles or lose fat, etc. These are very what you call antithesis to what we've been trying to do. So if you are in that spot, you might want to reduce, cut down. That's about it. thought I should have mentioned in one of the points, but I forgot. It just came to my mind. Have a great work week and great building up your mind and muscle. Cheers.